What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Homebot Workshop. It is springtime. Is your lawnmower ready to cut grass this year? Mine is not, and that's what we're gonna do in this episode. So those of you that know me even a little bit will not at all be surprised that this lawnmower is a John Deere. This particular model is an LT160. I went to my local John Deere dealer to pick up this kit. Let's pop it open and see what we got. We got an oil filter, we got a couple quarts of oil, air filter, an air pre-filter, spark plug, and a fuel filter. Now my machine right here has a drain valve as well as an oil filter. I'm going to start by putting some sort of a catch pan underneath this drain valve. Now my actual oil catch pan doesn't work, so I'm just using this little tin baking pan. It'll be just fine. After warming up the engine for a few minutes, I'll begin by removing the drain plug and draining out all the old oil. Now I can remove the oil filter using an oil filter wrench. Once the oil's drained, I'll reinstall the cap. And just like changing the oil on your car, you want to pour just a little bit to moisten that seal. This helps make sure you get a nice good seal and it doesn't leak. I'll just wipe down the surface where the oil filter seats, make sure there's no grit and grime on there, and we'll just install the filter. I'm going to turn the oil filter till it stops, and then I'm going to go about half a turn more. There's no need to crank the thing down. You absolutely do not need a wrench when you're tightening that down. You may need it to get it loose sometimes, but never ever will you need it to tighten it up. After filling it with the correct amount of oil, I can move on to the fuel filter. Now in this particular machine, the fuel filter is really easy to find. It has these little spring clips. All you need to do is squeeze the tabs of this clip together and you can slide them out of the way. Now when I pull this off, gas is going to want to come out, so I'm just going to hold my finger over there while I put the new filter in place. Now if you really didn't want to get gas on your hands, you could crimp it off lightly with a pair of vice grips. I've done that before too, and it works fine. After installing the new filter, I discovered a small fuel leak. See that? Something's leaking. That's why I don't like those spring clamps. There's no adjustment. It's leaking gas. I'm gonna change those out. It turns out at least one of those spring clamps was kind of weak and wasn't getting a good seal on that rubber line. Guys, let me know down in the comments, what are your thoughts on these little spring clips? Do you like them? Do you not like them? I'm not a fan. That doesn't mean you have to change them. That's just my personal preference. Most of the time they're gonna work for what they're made for, but I just don't like them. While we're right here by the fuel filter, it's a good time to change the spark plug. On my machine, it's right here at the front. So of course your machine could be in a different spot, but the process is gonna be the same. Make sure you use a spark plug wrench that has the rubber washer in there. A lot of times that thing gets lost. If you don't have the rubber washer, a deep well socket will work. Just be very careful that you don't break that plug off. Yeah, it's pretty crusty. I always like to compare the number, make sure it's the same, and it is. You don't have to go too tight on these either. You don't want to strip them out. The only thing left is our air filter, and it's easy. So we'll just take this guy. I really think all air filters should come with a pre-filter like this. I think it makes a huge difference. See, I told you the air filter was easy. Piece of cake. So that is all there is to it. Now don't worry, if you're trying to work on a different make and model machine, you may not be able to get a kit that has everything all together, but that's not a problem because you can always buy these things individually. A lot of times your auto parts store will have a lot of these items available for you. For things like the spark plug, just write down the number and take that in with you when you go into the store and you'll be able to find the right one. Oil, you can pretty much buy that anywhere. And a lot of times for air filters and those sorts of things, a hardware store or even an auto parts store will have those kinds of things. So don't be afraid if you can't find a kit that has everything together, you'll be able to get all those parts. Please remember, if you're working on your mower, to be safe, dispose of oil and fluids properly, and don't forget that your machine may require different materials or processes, but the overall procedure will not change. Thanks again, guys. Happy mowing. Till next time, I'll see you later.